All right, all right. Here we are again. Hey,
Back.
we're still sheltering in place.
Yeah, with all our videos, they have been. It's been shelter in place.
Wow, right? Well, at least we're at what, phase two of lifting this thing? How many phases are there, by the way? If there's 59 of them, I'm gonna lose it.
I can't.
Hopefully there's like four. We're halfway through.
Let's see. Yeah, I can't even
I'm waiting for my gym to open up, you know?
see how that turns.
That's what I'm waiting for. I want to go back to the gym. That's my thing. How you doing today?
I'm well, thank you. Good to see you. How you doing?
Yeah, good to see you too. My gosh, it feels like forever a little bit, right? And to the point where I don't even know what day it is. It seems like one long day every week. I don't even know if I can't even separate them by Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday anymore. It's just day. Forget about the sun and the mun and the twos,
Well, in our
right?
business too, there isn't really, there really isn't really any days off unless you really schedule that,
That's
right?
true.
So
That's true. But this has gotten worse because now that we're sheltering in place, like I honestly, some days I don't know what day it is,
I know I got confused the other.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. Well, cool. So let's talk today about some reverse mortgages. Been getting a lot of questions about that,
Yes.
about reverse mortgages because especially now that everybody's talking about forbearances, which we should do a video of that also
Yeah.
on forbearances, and people experiencing difficulty if you're 62 and above, which is the minimum age requirement for a reverse mortgage, maybe it's a good option, right? To not pay your mortgage anymore. So I always look at everything as a return on investment, right? Even, for example, what I call ROE. Everybody knows ROI, return on investment, but how about ROE, return on equity?
Mhm.
So let's say you're 62 years old and you qualify for a reverse mortgage. And we'll talk about, is it good or is it bad? How are today's reverse mortgages? We'll talk about all that in a second.
Mhm.
But if you're 62 and above and you have a ton of equity in your house and you're sitting at home, maybe retired or maybe just not working as much anymore because you're starting to taper down your career and you're dreaming about owning a second home, maybe a vacation home in Arizona or Hawaii, or thinking about taking those trips that you never did because all you did was work and you were a workaholic. Sound familiar? Right. Then a reverse mortgage might be something that you really want to consider. So let's unpack a reverse mortgage for a second. When we say reverse mortgage, what does that mean? All that means is that you're taking out a mortgage where the mortgage interest is being extracted from your equity. So at whatever interest rate. Right now, we all know that rates are pretty much artificially low. Thank you to the Fed, right? And the government for doing that because real estate is one of the major, if not the major anchor to any economy, right? People have to live somewhere. So that said, let's just say your interest rate is 3% for the sake of conversation. If your rate is 3% that they're extracting your equity from, but your house is going up 4%, you're at a net gain of 1%, which means that if it sustains that, you in essence are really never draining that equity. Does that make sense? Now, the
Mhm.
downside is that if your property value tanks and you no longer have equity or you have very little equity, well, then there's nowhere to grab that monthly interest payment from. That's where you can get into trouble. Now, today's reverse mortgages have a lot of new features and a lot of new protections in place for seniors. First off, look, the disclosure package to sign for these loans is astronomical. It's over 100 pages. It's huge, right? And that the reason being is because they're protecting you, the senior, 62 and above. The other piece is that in the past, these reverse mortgages, I'll be the first to tell you, were egregious when it came to fees. They were super expensive. And yeah, they had caveats where they could take your house. Today, that's not really the case. The only way that your house will be taken from you is if you don't pay your property taxes. Well, the county's going to come after you and foreclose. But that's going to happen if you don't pay them anyway, right? That really has nothing to do with the mortgage. So, in my opinion, now that especially now that the financial planning community sees it as an asset, it meaning the reverse mortgage, I think it's a new day. It's not your grandfather's reverse mortgage. It is a fantastic tool to, instead of paying that $2,800 or $3,000 a month mortgage payment, that you no longer pay that, to either invest that money into something else. Like I said, buy a second home, and or take those vacations that you haven't, right? And it doesn't mean that because you have a reverse mortgage that you have to have it forever. You could go into what they call a forward mortgage. What's a forward mortgage? The typical mortgages that everybody's heard about, the 30-year fixed, right? That type of mortgage. Those are considered to be forward mortgages, as opposed to reverse, which is essentially reversing your payment, right? You're not really paying a mortgage payment. Does this make sense?
Yeah, so I mean, so what I've heard in the past is if someone does get in a reverse mortgage and they take equity out, it's usually harder to get into a regular loan after. It's usually kind of not common unless you're able to qualify for that, correct?
Well, look, everything when it comes to qualifying for a mortgage will involve essentially four areas that they underwrite. They're going to look at how much do you have in assets, right? They're going to look at your credit scores, all three of them, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. They'll take the middle or the median score. They're going to look at your income, and then they're going to look at the amount of debt that you have totaled globally, right? Well, let's just say you depleted 50% of the equity that you took out. Well, you still have that other 50%. So it's not like you're going to go into a forward mortgage with no equity. Now, if you depleted all of the equity,
Hmm.
now you're in trouble. That's true, because no lender is going to give you 100% financing unless you have like a VA loan, a
Right.
veteran administration loan, right? That's a totally separate thing, right? But outside of that, yeah, you would be in major trouble. Now, these loans have features where you're going to get alerted. You're going to know that, oh, you're getting close to certain threshold of equity, because these loans are not going to lend you very high loan to values. That's not the case. It's typically about 50%.
So let me ask you, so basically to qualify for a reverse mortgage, is there any income restrictions?
No, there's really no income restrictions. It's for the most part, it's equity based, right? But there again, the equity amount is very conservative. It's going to be 50% of the value of your house typically, right? And it goes up as you get older. But just to give you an example, 50%, right? So notice that they leave a lot of equity in the house. That's on purpose, because nobody knows where the markets are going to go.
Got it. So you're the minimum age is 62. Equity, if you're younger, most likely is going to be 50%. And if someone wants to get out of the equity, out of the reverse mortgage, they would have to be able to qualify to get it back into a regular finance.
Yes, correct. They would just apply for a forward mortgage. And the other thing I wanted to mention too is, like, there's the inheritance part, right? The legacy portion that we call it. When a person passes away, your assigned beneficiaries have up to a year. It's 6 months, and then they can extend another 6 months, so it's up to a year to sell that house or get a forward mortgage. So it's not like they lose the house, not at all, or the equity.
Well, so I guess it could go either both ways, right? Either the family members can qualify, and either the
Yeah,
existing owner, if they want to get out of it, can qualify, and if they can't, the recourse is to sell,
yeah,
or
and they have up to a year to do that.
have a year. Okay, and then if the beneficiaries would like to take over, they would have to either qualify to be able to get that, and if
Correct.
they can't, then they would have to sell.
Correct. And they
That
have up to a year again to do that. So
gets
they have plenty of time, right? And the house is going up in value, right? In a year, if they're taking a year.
right.
So again, I just want to stress that, look, everybody's different. It's like shoe sizes, right? Everybody's got a different shoe size, everybody's got a different financial situation. But in my opinion, today, the reverse mortgage is the best I've ever seen as far as a product offering to people 62 and above. It's just a great, great option.
Well, I think this is a good topic because there's a lot of folks. I mean, regular retirement age has been what? It's been, what was it, like 65?
Six, 62 at one point, now 65, and it keeps going up.
And it keeps going up, and a lot of people can't retire. So in this case, because of cost of living and people just don't have the resources to retire, maybe this is a good option. I mean, I know
Yep.
prior to COVID, a lot of people have been super, super stressed. I mean, worked down to the ground and not really feeling like the quality of life has been there. And maybe now people are like, I really want to enjoy myself. I'm exhausted,
I
or
want to enjoy my golden years, right?
enjoy my golden years, and how can I achieve that? So then I guess the reverse mortgage can be
Is
helpful.
an option. Yeah. I mean, look, how many times have you gone to a Starbucks or something and the person taking your order is a senior?
Yeah.
I see it a ton. And I'm not saying that every one of them has to, but I got to believe that if you're working at Starbucks at 65, I'm not really sure that you're really choosing to do that. Maybe, right? But what if you didn't have to and instead you can go volunteer somewhere
Right.
because you no longer have that big payment of your mortgage? The mortgage payment for the most part is the largest debt that you have, right? That the human being has. So it's just another option. I'm not saying it's the panacea or the silver bullet that solves everything, but it is a great option. And for those of you who want to stay more liquid as well, because now this whole COVID thing has really made us focus on liquidity, right?
Hmm.
Because you have to have reserves. Think about all the people that are living paycheck to paycheck that now all of a sudden they get either their hours chopped or they get laid off. And that unemployment check is pennies on the dollar.
Well,
People
yeah, and
are in trouble. Look at the lines that are happening, Fatima, for food at
food.
the food banks. And now there's more and more talk about people that are in those lines are the everyday people. It's not
Mhm.
so much homeless, it's the everyday person who just can't make ends meet because of this whole virus. Now, again, I'm not fear mongering. All I'm saying is it's another option to talk about. And I am more than happy, which let me give you my contact information for how to get a hold of me. You can call me anytime. I'm super approachable. I'm not here to sell you anything. Matter of fact, my two pillars of my business are education and guidance
Yeah.
is very, very important. Call me at 415-368-1149 or shoot me an email, ed at Kuno, and that's Kun as in Nancy O, advisors with an S at the end.com.
Yeah. And then one thing to add to that is that, I'm reading on the news and looking at all kinds of articles on how many businesses are going uh, out of business. A lot of people are really having to restructure their life, and
Absolutely.
so if you feel that you want to have this conversation, there's a bigger picture, right? We look at, if you wanted to talk to your trusted advisors, and if you don't have anyone, you can contact us. But we will look at the bigger picture and strategize. A lot of times, it's a matter of trying to figure out, okay, what options do you have, and what would that bigger picture look like, and how do you stay protected? So yeah, so feel free to reach out. My telephone number is 415-756-4418, and I'm Fatemah. Thank you.
Awesome. And she's absolutely right. You hit on something that's so important. Leverage the professionals that are around you that care about you more than they care about commissions and money. Leverage those folks because I personally am more than happy to sit down with your tax person and yourself and your family
Same
to
here.
see if it makes sense for you to have either a regular mortgage to refinance or to get a reverse mortgage because we have all the products. I would love the opportunity to be able to talk that out with your tax person to see if from a tax standpoint it makes sense and
Mhm.
from a financial planning point it makes sense too. Let's get your whole team, your tax person, your
And
financial
family,
advisor, let's get them all into a room because we've done that.
exactly.
Remember, we've done that. Those are powerful meetings.
Plenty of
All
time.
right, guys. Well, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay indoors. Have a
Right.
great day. Thank
Yeah.
you, Fatima.
See you.